So yesterday on the podcast, we talked about the U.S.-Africa Summit and how the American government got all kind of money for everyone else except Black Americans with reparations. And I was seeing some of the comments yesterday, and shout out to my brothers and sisters on the African continent that was saying, repeatedly, we don't want that. We don't need that. They should give that money to Black Americans for their reparations. And, that is the right response because the African continent isn't looking for the United States to give them a thing. But the United States is concerned because everybody else is giving the African continent a better deal. But one thing I will tell you this, and you will see here, a colonizer is a colonizer is a colonizer. They don't know no other way to be in relation to Black folk. So we're going to look at their objectives, what they want to do, once again, in that racist language, Sub-Saharan Africa. Sub-Saharan. That is a racist term. The United States is still putting racist terms about the African continent. Okay. Those countries have names: Nigeria, Ghana, Botswana, Namibia, Kenya, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Togo. They got names. Okay. Now, they said there are 4 objectives in Africa, because I don't want to use that term, that racist term, each in coordination with our allies and partners in the region and around the world, as well as with regional and global institutions. This strategy recognizes the tremendous positive opportunity that exists to advance shared interests alongside our African partners. At the same time, we acknowledge that Africa's potential will continue to be challenged as long as deadly conflicts divide its societies. You mean like France, who's trying to constantly cause coups? You mean AFRICOM that Obama ushered in? I'm just saying, let those people alone. They say corruption impedes economic progress. Corruption impedes economic progress right here in the United States of America. Why you didn't take care of the corruption here? They say mismanagement squanders natural resources. Yeah, look at what's going on in places like Mississippi. Nobody should be having brown water in the United States of America. Food insecurity heightens the risk of famine and malnutrition for the most vulnerable populations. Yeah, and then they have food insecurity in the United States as well. And repression stifles human rights and democratic expression. Yeah, human rights of Black people like George Floyd, the Tatiana Jefferson, and all of that. You know what I'm saying? And Black people get in the street and protest, and then you bring out an army against them. You can't talk about African continent, you know what I'm saying? Because every time I go, I don't really see them problems that you got here. Well, let's continue. Foster openness and open societies. The United States has an abiding interest in ensuring the region remains open and accessible to all. Why? Why should it be accessible to all? Those countries should decide who they want in their country, who don't. And saying that governments and publics are able to make their own political choices consistent with international obligations. Open societies are generally more inclined to work in common cause with the United States, attract greater U.S. trade and investment, pursue policies to improve conditions for their citizens, and counter harmful activities by the PRC, Russia, and other foreign actors. See, that's where you're going right there. You're already telling them who they can deal with. You're not trying to be a partner with them. You're trying to tell them who they can deal with. That day of you telling African countries who they can deal with is done. It's done. You could try it, but it's not going to work. And so the United States will work with African governments, civil society, and publics to increase transparency and accountability, even though they don't have transparent accountability here in our own country, including supporting investigative journalism, combating digital authoritarianism, and enshrining laws, reforms, and practices that promote shared democratic norms. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a thing called the Twitter files that's out there right now. And in the Twitter files, you had the government going to Twitter and trying to take down people's pages. So isn't that digital authoritarianism, but you're doing it underneath Twitter? You understand what I'm saying? Consistent with the first ever U.S. strategy on countering corruption, the United States, working with our African partners, It said will seek to improve fiscal transparency, expose corruption, and support reforms. Yet Biden didn't do police reform here, but you're going to support reforms over there. Okay. The United States will increase its focus on the rule of law, justice, and dignity to deepen resilience and undercut negative influences. Once again, you don't do that here. Supporting independent judiciary serve as a bulwark against democratic backsliding, including constraining leaders who attempt to embezzle funds, change constitutions illegally, and steal elections. Well, if you want to talk about elections, and let me not go there because I don't want to get in trouble with the censors here. An independent judiciary also provides a forum for citizens to seek redress for criminal activities, civil disputes, and human rights abuses. They're trying to tell these people what to do in their own country. You see why y'all have lost influence? China's not trying to tell them what to do to get any kind of partnership with them. Russia's not telling them anything. You know what I'm saying? India, they're not telling them anything. They say United States will assist African countries to more transparently leverage their natural resources. Wait. So United States going to tell an African country how to leverage their natural resources? They didn't ask you to do that. They didn't say, please tell us what to do. So once again, you coming in like a freaking colonizer. It's not going to work. Including energy resources and critical minerals for sustaining development while helping strengthen supply chains that are diverse, open, and predictable. Once again, that's the African continent. Why you keep using the term diverse? No, diverse means y'all. It's in addition to the United States will work closely with African and multilateral partners to address the drivers of food insecurity and boost food production to mitigate the risk of malnutrition and famine that the UN estimates is affecting nearly 800 million Africans. That's quite funny because every time I go to an African country, I've been to about 3. I haven't seen nobody look like starved feed the children commercials from back in the 80s. I have not seen one. Every time I look up, the restaurants are full. I'm talking about full with African people of that country. I'm not talking about a tourist spot. I have not seen everybody cooking, having street food, cooking on the street. I have not went to one place yet so far where people are just starving. I'm not saying people don't have no problems, but come on now. We do have modern Africa. Deliver democratic and security dividends. And say the region's commitment and saying capacity to renew its democracies as well as anticipate, prevent, and address emerging and long-running conflicts can lead to more favorable outcomes for Africans and Americans. First of all, Africans, you're talking about conflicts, they don't make no weapons. All the weapons come from the West. There are strong linkage between poor and exclusionary governance, high levels of corruption, human rights abuses, including, you see that word, and gender-based violence and insecurity, which are often exploited by groups and malign foreign actors. By simultaneously addressing these challenges and reaffirming that democracy delivers tangible benefits, the United States can offer choices to Africans as they determine their own future, limit openings for negative state and non-state actors, and obviate the need for costly interventions. Okay. First of all, who are you to say who's a bad state actor? That's for them to make a choice on, not you. Once again, this is nothing but I'm going to tell y'all what to do. That's that same old foreign policy that they have had. And the African continent today, especially the young people today, is saying, hell no, we don't need you. Once again, I was told in 2018 that the reason why China is very popular on the African continent is because China doesn't try to tell them what to do. They just say, hey, we want to do business. That's y'all. What y'all do in y'all government, what y'all do with y'all law ain't got nothing to do with us. All we care about is getting the bag. That's it. It's the United States will seek to stem the recent tide of authoritarianism and military takeovers by working with allies and partners in the region to respond to democratic backsliding and human rights abuses, including through a targeted mix of positive inducements and punitive measures such as sanctions. Oh, since like y'all been doing to Zimbabwe, ever since Robert Mugabe took his country back from them folks, took the land and gave it back to Zimbabwe people. You mean no sanctions? Robert Mugabe is dead and gone, and you still got sanctions on those people. There's a video I think one Gale made where now I haven't put it up yet. They putting sanctions on the son of the current president Managua. Why? What are they doing to anybody? Why? Why are you doing that to Zimbabwe? They haven't done anything wrong to anybody. They say at the same time, the United States will partner with other governments and regional bodies, including the African Union, to address public dissatisfaction with the performance of some democracies, which provides a pretext for aspiring coup plotters, populist movements, and authoritarian leaders to undercut democratic values. Why aren't you working with people here to deal with the public dissatisfaction here? Like you trying to go over there and try to worry about they stuff, and you ain't worried about the public dissatisfaction in the United States of America. I mean, y'all really have some nerve. You think the people in the African continent didn't see January the 6th? You really think they didn't see that? Everybody got the internet now. You think they don't see like what's going on with Democrats and Republicans in this country? You think everybody don't see what's going on with everybody living in debt? Do you think they don't see that what the Bible says came to pass, to say where it says the debtor will be enslaved to the lender? When people be talking about all this student loan debt and all that they's basically in slavery to the capitalist system and the banks. I'm talking about all people are. You think they don't see that? So people in this country living on the streets, people in this country talking about they in debt, but you won't go over there and tell them about their government. And people got some nerve, man. But here we go, y'all. Let's continue. The United States will support African democracies by backing civil society, including activist workers and reform-minded leaders, empowering marginalized groups. Y'all. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Right here. Let's highlight that right there. Such as LGBTQI+. What is the I? I mean, I know the Q. Oh, I think I know what it is. Intersex. Okay. Individuals centering the voices of women and youth in reform efforts and demanding free and fair elections as necessary but insufficient components of vibrant democracies. The United States will support democratic openings and opportunities by building on the presidential initiative for democratic renewal, the Summit for Democracy, and a year of action. Y'all, I knew this was coming. I knew right was highlighted was coming. Africans, this is Biden and the Democrats. If you want your country to turn into the cesspool that America is, let Biden and the Democrats bring that stuff to your countries. But see, I know y'all. And that's why I like going over there. Y'all ain't gonna put up with Biden and them with that. Hell no. The United States, to say, will focus on its diplomatic efforts, leverage its development programs, and use its defense tools. Why are you using your defense tools? Why are these people didn't ask you for that? To strengthen and enable partners to respond to the drivers of conflict across the region. Oh, so you're going to use them against France? Because they the one that's causing the problem. I said we will focus on improving the capacity of African partners to advance regional stability and security by enabling more professional, capable, and accountable government security actors that can provide internal security. Once again, I don't hear African countries begging y'all for security. They doing it on their own. And so we will also invest in locally led prevention and peacebuilding efforts to mitigate and address vulnerabilities, leaving, the Bipartisan Global Fragility Act in coastal West Africa and in Mozambique. And so the United States will prioritize, resources to reduce the threat from those groups. To the homeland, U.S. homeland, persons, diplomatic and military facilities, directing unilateral capability only where lawful and where the threat is most acute. It said we will primarily work with and through African partners in coordination with our key allies on bilateral and multilateral basis to achieve shared objectives and promote civilian-led, non-kinetic approaches where possible and effective. It says as part of the approach, we will employ tailored programs to build a capacity of local partners, security, intelligence, and judicial institutions to identify, disrupt, degrade, and share information on those groups and their support networks. Once again, those people weren't asking you for that. I told y'all. So basically, what they telling y'all, Africans, listen to me, listen to your brother. Yeah, we're gonna give you $55 billion, but then we about to come in and just neo-colonize you. This is what this sounded like. Okay, advanced pandemic recovery and economic opportunity. Okay, you going to advance pandemic recovery when your own country didn't do well on the pandemic? The United States had 1 million plus people pass away with the pandemic. Africans didn't even see none of that. The numbers in a lot of African countries didn't even get to not even 50,000, 40,000, 30,000. Some of them barely had people that not even hit 10,000 people pass away of the virus. But yet in the Western world, it tore them up. So how you going to go over there and advance any pandemic recovery? Look at our freaking country. After the pandemic, look at the homelessness and went out the roof. Jobs, inflation is bad. Gas prices high, food prices high. How are you going to go to any African continent and advise them on anything when our country's a mess? Come on now. And I'm gonna tell you this much: going over there to Kenya, I can actually save more money buying food in Kenya than I can in the United States. I can go stay and pay for an apartment or a home a lot cheaper than I can pay here in the United States. It's not the other way around. Like y'all got it, y'all act together, y'all got it so good. I'm talking about you biting the Democrats. And let me say something to those black folk that goes, you got some of these, and I think I'm just gonna say it. Some of you kind of weird to me when you defending everything what these people are doing, and you're not in a good situation. You get mad about it. Get mad, but you can't counter what I say, because you won't even leave your doggone neighborhood to go find out what I say is true or false. The United States will prioritize policies and programs as well as strengthen its existing partnerships to end the acute phase of the virus pandemic and enhance health. Nobody's focusing on that virus right now. As I said, closing critical gaps in African countries' pandemic preparedness and response capacity is pivotal to U.S. and global health security. You need to be preparing this country because, once again, we didn't do good. And let's say by July 2022, 25% of Africans had received at least one dose. As we can see here, and the United States is leading in providing over 200 million doses to the continent. We will continue to provide critical delivery. They're not asking for that, and nobody wants it. So stop. But once again, they did better with us than us, and they didn't have the quote unquote doses, right? They say the United States will build core capacity to prevent, detect, and respond to infectious disease threats, address challenges for procuring, delivering, they say diagnosis and therapeutics, support manufacturing initiative. No, listen, they're not asking you for all of that. You did horribly with the pandemic. Why do they need to look to you for anything? They don't need to look to China either, because they did horribly. Now, I'm not going to go through all this crap here. I'm really not, because it doesn't make sense. Some of this stuff, it don't. But they talking about the United States will also partner with African countries to rebuild human capital and food systems. They will further weaken due to the pandemic and fallout with Russia war, Ukraine. The United States will strengthen efforts to address losses, prevent further declines, address vulnerabilities in household income and food security. You're not addressing the vulnerabilities of household income in the United States. Like, y'all, how you going to go take the plank out of your brother's eye when you got a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite. Take the plank out of your eye first. Then you can see clearly enough to take the plank out of your brother's eye. That's it, right? That scripture fits this country and what they talking about. Help children, particularly girls, return to school and prepare African youth to gain the skills and expertise to participate in the 21st century economy. They got girls right here in America that need that. They're not, once again, Africans aren't asking for any of this. I'm telling you they're not. Support conservation, climate adaptation, and a just energy transition. Africa's efforts to conserve and restore the continent's ecosystems and rich natural resources, while also realizing energy access and energy security goals, diversifying its energy mix, and building sustainable change are central to tackling the global climate crisis. Although the region is responsible for extremely low emissions per capita, it stands to suffer from some of the most severe effects of climate change. As Africa's energy demands increase to support economic growth, we will use our influence, development assistance, and financing to help African partners adapt and build resilience to climate impacts and promote mitigation strategies to achieve a sustainable and low carbon future. But you just said that they have the lowest emissions per capita. So why do you need to do any of that? It doesn't make any sense. And they more this climate change stuff. Once again, climate change affects them. It doesn't affect black people like that. Yes, it affects the weather. Yes, we having more colder winters. We're having hotter summers. Yes. But, you know, what they say, Father God, through nature will always correct the imbalance. That's what all this is. You're just having an imbalance being corrected. But, you know, with that being said, you know, you see some of this here. I'm not going to go through all of that. But what made me really want to focus in on this, I knew this was coming. This right here was coming. I knew it. Because Prince William one time said that there was too many people on the African continent. Too many. And they taking up too many of the resources. Well, how do you stop children from being born? Well, was highlighted right here. Because when you go down this route or promote this route, then you're promoting barrenness. Because two men can't have children. Two women can't have children. So you're promoting barrenness. But the great thing about the African continent is they're a lot more religious than this society. So they're very strong on Islam. They're very strong on Christianity. Some of them are very strong in certain areas on voodoo, hoodoo. The African continent is very, 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 very religious. And when you have people and at one point in time in America, black Americans were that way. We were extremely religious in many ways too. Some of us still are, but we aren't as devout as we used to be. That's why we wouldn't do certain things. We wouldn't say certain things, etc. But out of all of that, I tell Africans, look at black America, look at what they produce, look what they pushed on black America, and look what we ended up. Do you really want to end up like that? Because what's going to end up happening if you let the Democrats all them push that mess in your continent, you're gonna have the same single mother problems. You're gonna have the issues, with bringing all that alternative lifestyle to your continent. You're gonna have the Megan Thee Stallion stuff on the continent. You're gonna I'm telling you, the same problems. You're gonna have it. I'm telling you. So fight like hell and say hell no, we don't need you. But at the end of the day, y'all, they're trying to run you. They're trying to get you to accept colonization because they realize you got choices now. See, the beautiful thing about choice is that when you got choices about where you were gonna go or what you're gonna do, people got to come at you a certain way. So this is why at first he wanted to lead with the money and say, hey, I want to give y'all $55 billion. But then when you go back to reading this thing here, you say, wait a minute, hold on. You want us to take $55 billion and you want to come in here and run our continent? No, that's not going to happen. You're going to tell us who we need to deal with and who we're not going to deal with? Nah, them days are gone, bro. Them days are gone. And rightfully so. Them young people on the African continent, that's why I love them. They see the writing they see what it is. They got the internet. They know they do not want to accept the colonization that their parents once took. So what I would say to my African brothers and sisters, don't let them come in there trying to take over y'all stuff. I mean, I know y'all leaders gonna finesse that money anyway. They're gonna finesse that money, and the people on the ground not gonna see a dime of that money. None of it. They not gonna see it. And it'd be the same thing once again. Your leaders took the money, and the people are suffering. But now now it's choices. It's choices. I didn't see nothing in here saying they was gonna build power grids for these African countries. I didn't see nothing about power grids. I didn't see nothing about getting all their internet to 5G. See, that's what China do. China say, yeah, I'm gonna build you expressway and I'm gonna get your internet to 5G. And then I'm gonna come in and work on your power grid. But when we do that, we want access to that diamond mine over there. as payment. See, that's what they do. Well, you know what? I'm gonna go help upgrade your airport. You know, your airport don't look too good, and we'll build your airport up. You know, Russia recently said, hey, we want to go put some nuclear power plants, you know, on your continent, so you don't have to worry about your lights and all that. You can power a lot of countries that way. But we want access to something. You know, all of them want access to their resources. Of course they do. None of them doing nothing for free. But all this, well, I'm gonna give you some money, but now I'm about to go ahead and just tell you what to do. Them days are done. Nothing in here they talked about was trying to improve the African continent. Nothing at all. They want the African continent to stay, quote unquote, third world. They don't want them to have quote unquote, first world living. And that's, if you decipher this, that's exactly what it is. They trying to come over there and tell y'all what to do. And our country's a freaking mess. The public is dissatisfied with both sides of the political aisle. People homeless. People not eating. People can't afford to buy a car. People can't afford to buy rent. Schools are horrible. Children can't be protected in school. Like all these different, worry about the security of our country first. But no, Biden and them think they got time, man. But anyway, I just want to make sure to cover this, ladies and gentlemen, so y'all can see exactly what Biden and them want to do. Their U.S. strategy toward that racist term, sub-Saharan Africa. Brothers and sisters on the continent, reject that wholeheartedly. Reject that. Tell them you're not colonizing us no more. Them days are gone. Either you treat us as an equal or you just don't deal with us at all. That's just really the right response that a lot of African people need to have toward them. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on the podcast. Greatly appreciate it. Make sure you click the subscribe button that we know is posting another podcast. Click the like button. That's very important. And we'll see you on the next one.